So the H-1B visa is the most commonly known visa for professional workers to work in the United States. So the H-1B visa is available to professionals who have a bachelor's degree or what the U.S. government considers to be the equivalent of work experience. And they also have to have a job offer in their field of study or experience. So the H-1B visa is available. Initially, it's issued for 3 years, and it's also renewable for an additional 3 years beyond that. In order to extend the H-1B visa beyond 6 years, the applicant has to have an immigrant visa petition or a green card application started on their behalf, and the I-140 petition has to be approved in order for them to be able to continue to extend the H-1B status. So there are many pros and cons for the H-1B visa. So on the pro side, many applicants that have university degrees are well qualified for this visa. So arguably the standard that an employee has to meet may not be as high or as stringent or rigorous as some of the other non-immigrant visa categories. Generally, in terms of, in comparison to other visas, it may also be more cost effective since the employee doesn't have to make any investment or show any particular investment level into a company in order to qualify. Also, many H-1B candidates will eventually continue on to residency through their employer or, depending on the circumstances, possibly another employer in the field, but it often is a path that will lead to residency. So on the pros and maybe the con side as well, spouses of H-1B visa holders can get work authorization in the period after the 6-year extension. So spouse work authorization is available in limited circumstances. Another pro of the H-1B visa is that it's a dual intent visa, meaning that the employee does not have to show that they have ties to their home country, which can be daunting after studying here and then working for 3 years. Obviously, the longer people are in the States, the more difficult it may become to show ties to your home country. So the H-1B visa does not require an employee to do that. It may be the cons of the H-1B visa that are more well-known than the pros. On the other hand, H-1B visas have a numerical restriction. So every year there are 65,000 H-1B visas made available to applicants who have a bachelor's degree or its equivalent, and then there are 20,000 additional visas available to those with master's degrees. So every year, as Lorraine previously mentioned, there are more than 200,000 applicants or thereabouts. So the chances of being selected are statistically not in the applicant's favor. Also, if you are one of the ones who are lucky enough to be selected in the H-1B lottery, you still have to wait until October 1st to start working. Applications are submitted every year on April 1st, and they're usually, the lottery is conducted usually sometime within the first 4 to 6 weeks. And only after your application is selected in the lottery is it going to be adjudicated, and then once it's approved, then you start working October 1st. So there's still a bit of a process, even if you're lucky enough to get chosen in the lottery. When you apply for an H-1B, they do not take into consideration whether your company is a startup or whether it has been established for 100 years. Now, we all know that startups are often raising funding and may not be as well funded as an established company. Unfortunately for the H-1B, you're still required to pay the same prevailing wage that an established company would pay to that employee for that position. And it's also important to keep in mind that the salary requirement must be offered in a traditional format, I'll call it. Stock options cannot be considered as compensation towards the H-1B salary requirement. finally, the H-1B can only be issued for 6 years unless the employee has an employer who sponsors them for permanent residency. If they are not able to find an employer who is going to sponsor them for the green card, then unfortunately after 6 years, they have to find another visa that they qualify for or plan to depart the country. Another drawback of the H-1B visa is because of the numerical limitation on the visas, it makes it difficult for employers to plan appropriately for who they're going to have working on October 1st. So some employers are uncomfortable with this X factor in planning their staffing needs for any given year. So we actually have a recent development with the H-1B visas. President Trump signed an executive order requiring several government agencies to make recommendations on how to revamp the H-1B visa program. He's also committed to enhancing security and site visits, as well as additional screening at U.S. embassies surrounding H-1B visas. This is only going to make things more difficult and more burdensome for both employers and H-1B employees going forward.